Euros 2024 has come and gone, leaving us with great memories and rekindling that spark for football. It reminded me of past tournaments like Euros 2016 when Cristiano Ronaldo and a young Portuguese team made history by winning their first major tournament. One standout player from that competition was a then 17-year-old Renato Sanches, who won Young Player of the Tournament just as he was set to join Bayern Munich on a blockbuster 35 million euros transfer. Unfortunately, Sanches hasn't yet fulfilled his superstar status, bouncing around the top 5 leagues and to date ending up with a 78 rating while on loan at Roma from PSG last season. In this video, we'll bring Sanches back to Benfica with the same age, rating, and potential he had during Euros 2016. We'll then resimulate his career to see how it might have turned out differently. Benfica's squad has its share of talented youngsters, and to ensure Sanches gets enough playtime, I've loan listed most of their midfielders to maximize the amount of appearances we can get. We've got an opener in the league against Braga, and Sanches already making his mark, a debut goal and winner in the 81st minute. I've also kept last season's Champions League groups the same, meaning that we'll have matchups against Inter, Salzburg, and Real Sociedad. The January transfer window will be our first chance to look at Sanches' stats and see what kind of impact he's making at Benfica. As far as the league table goes, not the best season. You'd expect us to be competing with Porto for the league title, but that is not happening right now. The Champions League, we do finish third, meaning that we're going to drop down to the Europa League. Not a bad thing, because we will be trying to win as many trophies as possible in this simulation. Our opponent in the preliminary round of the Europa League is Stade Rennais, but stats, you can't complain about what Sanches has done so far. 24 appearances, and from those, he scored 8 goals. Interesting that he has no assists from the center of the midfield. The rest of the season had its ups and downs. We saw a slight comeback in the league, managing a 3rd place finish and just 6 points shy of Porto for the title. We did win the Taça Portuguesa, which Sanches actually won with Benfica back in the 2015-16 season. We didn't have any knockout stage opponents to track in the Champions League, and it's Real Madrid that win that competition. A 4-1 aggregate victory against Stade Rennais in the preliminary round of the Europa League puts us up against Liverpool in the round of 16. Probably couldn't have asked for a more difficult opponent, and that is where we saw our exit. Plenty of teams that actually advanced to the later stages of the competition are still in the running. Roma defeated Liverpool in the semi-finals, ultimately winning the competition in an all-Italian final as they defeat Atalanta. And in the Conference League, it's an upset victory as Ferencvárosi defeat Aston Villa. Sanches had a great first half of the season. Hopefully that continued in the second half. Maybe not quite the same numbers, but definitely a few more goals, as Sanches was the 4th best goal scorer here at Benfica. That might be an area that we were lacking this season as we try to compete for the league title. We have to go all the way down to 7th before we see an appearance for top goal scorers in the league. The assist category is an area I'd like to see improvements, as we only have 3 over the course of the season. Unsurprisingly, we won't make it into the top 15. Our club fared a little bit better in this category though. Each season I'll be making a comparison between Sanches' IRL stats and simulation statistics in that country. Starting here in Portugal, considerably better for the simulation in pretty much every category. Putting up those kind of numbers and going up 4 in his rating, we're destined to receive some good transfer offers next season. You can make the argument that Sanches' transfer to Bayern is when things started to go downhill. 2 full seasons playing at the club and really no great numbers to show for it. It's only fitting that the first transfer offer we received for Sanches is from Leverkusen, the very team that took away the Bundesliga title from Bayern last season. Under the guidance of Xabi Alonso, I think it's likely that Sanches is much better off in the future and can potentially fulfill his potential, ultimately being an 80 million deal, joining the likes of another Benfica talent, Grimaldo, and of course, the wonder kid, Florian Wirtz. We won't make it into the starting 11 right away, Xhaka and Palacios holding it down in the midfield, but it's likely we'll have several competitions to prove our worth, starting in the German Super Cup against Bayern. This one will go into penalties, where we do end up getting subbed in, converting from the spot and helping Leverkusen win the first trophy of the season. We will be taking part in the Champions League as well, with Leverkusen securing a top 4 finish last year, our group consisting of Chelsea, Marseille, and Shakhtar Donetsk. My expectations for Season 2 are a little bit lower for statistics because we are starting as a substitute, and league-wise much of the same, not yet competing for a league title, but we have managed to top our Champions League group which means we've got a shot at that competition as we embark to the knockout stages where we'll begin our journey against last season's Europa League winners Roma. Perhaps not the most appearances for the club, but a pretty good goal number, 5 from 20 appearances. We've actually shifted Sanches to act as more of a right midfielder, right winger, because there is so much competition in the center of the park. I think that position change will definitely help our numbers this season, and it doesn't need to be a permanent thing for Sanchez's career. Pretty steady stuff for the league as we once again secure a 4th place finish. Dortmund now toppled Bayern as Bundesliga champions. We saw a quarterfinals exit in the DFB Pokal, with Dortmund also winning that competition, so at least the double for them. Of course, we start the season with a victory against Bayern in the German Super Cup, and we continue our luck in the Champions League, defeating Roma on penalties in the round of 16. A tough matchup in the quarterfinals though, as we lose 7-2 on aggregate against Manchester City. City will make it to the final where they play against PSG and defeat them to claim another Champions League title for the club. Following our departure from Benfica, they actually will lift the Europa League, defeating Inter 5-3 on penalties. Another fun winner in the Conference League as PSV were crowned victorious in this competition. A fantastic season all around for Sanchez in pretty much every category, ranking as some of the club's best in appearances, goals, and assists. The club's still lacking in this category though, as the only player to reach the top 15 in league goals was Ben Yedder. We will reach the double digits category in assists though, and we will lead the club as well. This is just the sort of contribution we were hoping for, ranking as the 4th best Bundesliga player in assists. I've combined Sanchez's career appearances for Bayern so that it's a little bit closer of a comparison for the simulation. We still fare much better in career mode, and this could very well be the best season of our career. A huge increase to our overall makes us the 2nd highest valued player at Leverkusen, only behind Florian Wirtz. I can only imagine the kind of transfer offers that will come in. There was lots of competition for Sanchez's signature, offers coming in from Arsenal and Dortmund. I thought it would be more interesting to make the move to Arsenal, kind of following Sanchez's career path where he spent that season out on loan at Swansea. Considering this is a 100 million transfer, Sanchez is quickly becoming one of the best players in the world. Perhaps he can be the difference maker that'll help Arsenal secure a Premier League title. He will fit straight into the starting 11, playing alongside Declan Rice and Martin Odegaard. What a midfield that is. And once again, straight into the Champions League, with Arsenal finishing 4th last year. We've got a few familiar opponents in our group with Atletico Madrid, Marseille, and Slavia Praha. But we'll fast forward to the January transfer window and finding ourselves top of the league. The first time we can say that in this simulation. Similar luck in our Champions League group. Slightly surprised that Atleti didn't advance to the knockout stages. But it seems like we love this Bayern matchup, as we will play against them in the round of 16. It's a slightly different role for Sanchez at Arsenal. Of course, Bukayo Saka is gonna hold down the right wing spot. So in the midfield, we've got 5 goals and 4 assists to our name. I don't think it comes as a surprise that the Premier League will be one of our big focuses this season. Just one fixture remaining this season against Sunderland, and a win will secure us the Premier League title. It really was no contest despite a red card in the 27th minute. We will still get the victory, and that will mark our first league title so far in this simulation. And in the grander scheme of things, it'll mark Arsenal's return to the top of the Premier League standings. A look at how things ended in the league. It's a good thing we got that victory, because United also picked up 3 points on the final match day. It was a 5th round exit for us in the FA Cup. Manchester City defeating Aston Villa in the final of this competition. We lost to Man City in the semifinals of the Carabao Cup. They also will secure the silverware in this tournament. Unfortunately, Bayern got the better of us in the Champions League. They lost to Man City in the quarterfinals. Some interesting matchups in the semis, with Marseille making it all the way there, but PSG were crowned victorious, as they will pick up their first Champions League trophy in this simulation. Barca were Europa League winners against Spurs, and the Conference League going to Chelsea this time around. We had plenty of quality around us this season at Arsenal, and the statistics showed for it. Despite our 90 rating, we were nowhere close to competing for top goals of the club. Saka actually picking up the Golden Boot with 26 Premier League goals from 38 appearances. We fared a little bit better in the assist category. Odegaard and Saka joint top with 9 assists. We were one behind them. Not too many of those assists coming from the Premier League though, as we won't rank in the top 15. Compared to that Swansea loan spell that Sanches had in Wales IRL, our time at Arsenal was much more successful. Now that we're into the 90s for our rating, I think it would be cool if we found some success for continental competitions as well. Outside of maybe Benfica, I don't think it's any question that Sanchez's best statistics were during his time at Lille. It's too bad that no French teams can probably afford his transfer fee, so he'll have to make the return to PSG, which in reality was a major step back in Sanchez's career coming off of that Lille move. Regardless though, it's a 140 million fee that PSG were willing to pay. He's now considered one of the world's best, and maybe his numbers can back that up. From a ratings perspective, PSG have one of the best squads in career mode. That might not be the case in FC 25, but it is still so in this simulation. You might remember PSG are coming off a very successful season last year, winning the Champions League. We got a couple of different Super Cups, starting with the Trophée des Champions in France, and we defeat Stade Rennais to get our first trophy of the season. Now shifting focus to the UEFA Super Cup, where we play against Europa League winners Barcelona, and it's another victory. Mbappe just carrying us here, but we do have our work cut out for us in the Champions League group stage. Man United, Roma, and Basel. Moving forward to January 2027, we're getting on in this simulation, and it comes as a little surprise that we're top of Ligue 1. 7 points clear of Lille, but it's absolute disaster in the Champions League. Points pretty well distributed across all teams, but we finished dead last in our group, so we're out of European competitions for the season. This is where I think Mbappe had enough, leaving to join Juventus halfway through the season. We've still got a capable striker with Gonzalo Ramos, and to be fair, Mbappe leaving will probably help in some of the statistics for our goal contributions. I think this is an accurate story for PSG though. They might dominate in Ligue 1, but the Champions League has to be the focus for them. To make matters worse, we lose out in the semi-finals of the Coupe Nationale with Stade de Reims winning in the final on penalties. We'll have a quick look through the Champions League knockout stages, the quarterfinals with some interesting opponents, but once we get to the semi-finals onwards, it's kind of the same group that you would expect. City return as Champions League winners, Lazio defeating Stuttgart in the Europa League, and it's West Ham who get the win against Atalanta in the Conference League. This has been one of our worst seasons to date. 46 appearances, only 6 goals to show for it, and Ousmane Dembele was pretty much the only PSG player that competed for top goals in the league. Assist-wise, we ranked as the 3rd best on the team. Dembele still leading in this category, but it's disappointing to see that we didn't have a single player as the top goal scorer or top assist maker in Liga. Things really took a turn for the worse when Sanches joined PSG. That was also the case in this simulation. Our worst season to date so far, and I am looking forward to a change of scenery. On the bright side, our evaluation is in a good spot. We're the 2nd highest valued player at PSG. Interestingly enough, the top rated talent, Xavi Simons, has his contract running out, so he'll be joining Real Madrid on a free transfer. We're going to have one more go at things at the club level, and our chance will come in Italy. I was happy to see that Juventus was the first Italian club to offer us a transfer, despite Arsenal's efforts to bring us back. This will be our biggest transfer fee to date, 175 million for one of the world's best players. I guess they had the funds available after Mbappe joined them on a free. We'll make our return at the right mid position because there are plenty of good center midfielders in this squad. Only taking 2 weeks for that development plan to change. Mbappe's not the only former PSG player at Juventus. They've also got Hakimi at right back. There's no question this squad couldn't compete for the Champions League. Unfortunately, last season only saw us make it to the Europa League, and we were lucky to make it there, considering they only saw a 6th place finish in the league. But regardless, we'll simulate forward to January 2028. We are 2nd in Serie A right now, with Milan 5 points ahead of us. No surprise with us topping our Europa League group, 15 points from 6 matches played. That'll allow us to bypass the preliminary rounds, so we'll check on stats. 25 appearances for Sanches, 7 goals and 2 assists to show for it. It might not be the Champions League, but us being in the Europa League right now will probably give us our best chance to win some continental silverware before this simulation ends. Getting right into the round of 16, we saw a 6-3 aggregate win against Real Sociedad, defeating Monaco 3-1 on aggregate in the quarterfinals. advancing on penalties against Athletic Club Bilbao in the semis, and that'll put us against Atleti in the final of the Europa League. It was a lone goal from Gavi to secure us the win, so we will indeed add a continental trophy for Sanchez's simulation, something that he hasn't yet been able to achieve, although he had the opportunity last season with Roma. In the league, we actually had a very strong second half of the season, finishing 18 points clear of Milan for the top spot. We're Italian Super Cup winners against Lazio, seeing a round of 16 exit in the Coppa Italia, with Atalanta defeating Palermo in the final. Real Madrid were once again Champions League winners against one of our former clubs in this simulation, Leverkusen, and Milan were Europa Conference League winners. That strong second half of the season carried forward to our statistics, ending with 14 goals, and Mbappe clearly leading the way for both our club tally and across the league. Always going to have a chance to compete with Mbappe. 7 assists on the club level wasn't bad. Gavi actually led the way and was a crucial player for this Juventus squad. Bernardo Silva actually joined top with several players for most assists in Serie A. This was actually our best season statistics-wise, so a good way to close things out on the club level. We've definitely achieved our objective of helping Sanchez reach that world-class potential, finishing the club simulation at a 90 rating at just 22 years old. You know, I have to make at least one run with Portugal in the Euros though, considering that was the inspiration for this video. We've accepted the Portugal job and we've got this team to rock with in Euros 2028. Some interesting results from the group. Ukraine the surprise winners in Group A. We're in Group B, arguably the group of death with France, us, Netherlands, and Finland. Group C, relatively easy opponents with Poland, Norway, Scotland, and Sweden. And Group D, Belgium, Germany, Northern Ireland, and Hungary. Some big names definitely missing from the Euros. Not sure what happened there, but our first matchup in the quarterfinals will be against Ukraine, where we see a 4-2 victory. Here are how results went for the rest of this stage. Our semifinals opponent is Germany, the team that I support, whereas the other leg, we'll see France versus Norway. I'm a little bit torn because I wanted us to hopefully win the Euros with Portugal, but Germany defeat us in extra time, courtesy of a Kai Havertz goal. Norway are definitely the underdogs at this point, and they've got a chance of stunning Germany in the Euro 2028 final, but it wasn't meant to be, with Die Mannschaft getting a 2-1 victory to close out this simulation.